very warm welcome to you all to the one-on-one set. Tonight we have with us the writer of the documentary film Three Wise Men's Parallel Lives. He is Deane Thomas. Deane Thomas is in fact originated from the UK and is very much involved in the world of cinematography as well as literature. He's also, in fact, preparing to organize a film festival in December this year. And tonight, during this episode of One on One, Deane Thomas will give us more insight about his passion for cinematography as well as movies. Deane Thomas, thank you so much for joining us in the studio of the MBC.
Thanks for inviting me. It's a pleasure to be here.
Like we said, you are the writer and producer of the film Three Wise Men Parallel Lives. But before that, share with us what pushed you to share your stories and adventure to the world.
I think when I came to Mauritius originally in 2019 on other business, and when I returned in 2020, we were hit with the lockdowns. And I'm a writer, and I found a story that I needed to write about to discover, which was the story of Amodi Ibrahim Acha and the story of electricity, because I'm involved in renewable energy as well as cinema. And when I discovered more of the story, how everything just fitted together, the interesting aspects, power station, the first power station in Mauritius, the Gandhi story, the Gandhi element, and the whole history of the work of the Major. This story had to be told. And it's something that I chose with a passion to discover more and to write about.
But were you always, had that interest in the film industry? Because you're a writer, but writing for books and writing for movies are two different things.
I think it all comes down to telling a story. A book is telling a story. Cinema is telling a story also. It's how we interpret the images into fulfilling that story. And the history of the Major, linked with the history of Nikola Tesla, which the film touches on, they're too similar not to be told. And what the Major was doing in Mauritius, pioneering electricity, Nikola Tesla was doing in New York. So there's a story that needs to be told. And writing a book, my books are about spirituality and different views on life, and how these stories from the old days, from the days of Gandhi and the days of Vivekananda, that taught these Eastern philosophies about everyone being equal, being free to share our ideas and visions. So what I tried to do was to portray the story of the Major alongside the story of Nikola Tesla, as well as my own life story, because the paths are very similar, and to bring them all into one, that leaves the viewer wanting to know more.
How many years you are involved in this, in this passion for creative writing?
I first started in 2014, which is when I met Tomislav Tesla in Budapest. This led to some very serious things that I had to do within my life. And that led me to understanding who I am. And when you understand who you are, new things, information comes into your brain about what you're good at, about what you have a passion for. And the passion just arises, and you follow that passion, you feel it. It's a feeling, it's a physical feeling. And you know that when you understand the story that you're telling or involved with, that there are traits in history that can help us understand more and more. So this effectively is another continuation of the Major story, of the Tesla story, and how it relates and resonates in today's world and what's happening in today's world.
Indeed. And the movie, The Three Wise Men Parallel Lives, is in fact, related to you, to Sada Radia and Désiré Prévost, the directors.
Mm-hmm.
Talk to us about your bonding with them, and how did you all come up together to make this beautiful movie?
Thank you for saying it's beautiful. I think it's very nice. It's a very nice documentary that we made. I met Sada in a taxi, because Sada's a taxi driver also. Sada was taking me to a meeting to sign a contract with the electricity board, and he was talking about different things. And I said, well, I have a story to tell you, and you're taking me to a new business venture that I'm about to sign, so we need to meet up. After the meeting, Sada's in Albion, I live in Albion, so we met very quickly there afterwards. And we realized that there is a film to be made, and we realized that there's a story to be told, and we decided to start writing it.
Talk to us about the movie for our audience who haven't watched it.
The, it's an interesting documentary because it reveals stories that a lot of Mauritians don't know. The discovery of electricity is one of them, the visits of Mahatma Gandhi, the way that the Major integrated with the community, how he gave everything as a service to the community. You played football under floodlights in Mauritius before London. You had electricity in the streets of Rosehill before the UK.
Yeah.
So you were very advanced as a nation.
Yeah.
And these early 1900s, the Major and his brothers, as well as other entrepreneurs, they raised the level of standard of living in Mauritius. This is when cinema was becoming more popular in Mauritius. And the Major and his family, they actually own 9 cinemas. So this is very relevant in today's world of where we are. It's almost like the story of cinema came to me for me to tell another story about cinema. So it's how I've adapted to understand and to incorporate them into my life, enabling me to do the work that I do, but also to follow a passion and be able to share this passion with the audience.
So, in fact, in the movie, there are also 3 additional writers who are credited. Could you tell us a bit more about, the writing process, about, writing as a team, especially? Because, there are different ideas
Yes.
from one or the other. So, how did the story truly shape that we see on the screen?
The aspect of the Major was important to be understand from a local perspective. So we involved a team of writers that Sada is aware of, that Sada was in his team. And then we went to meet the Acha family. We went to meet the oldest grandson of the Major, who was at the time 96. So we got a clear picture of everything from listening to conversations, recording conversations, talking to all of the generations of the Acha family, and then condensing that into more like a biography, and then creating the various scenes from the writing, what we had learned. Because there were many things that we learned. Speaking to Michael Acha, Dr. Michael Acha, we learned so many things about not only his personal life, but his grandfather's life. How Michael Acha stayed in the bed of Gandhi when Gandhi came to Mauritius. So there were many, many things that we had to tell, but we had to condense it in a way that we were telling a story as opposed to a series of events that happened. So this required local input. And there were some scenes in the documentary where we're looking at indentured labor. So there's a recreated scene of the language used by the indentured laborers at the time. So this was a very specific script to show the languages that were also here in Mauritius at the late 1800s, early 1900s. So it's looking at the multicultural and diversity of
Indeed.
Mauritius and what Mauritius represents.
But like you said, in order to show the authenticity of a movie, it's also important to have the right casting and also the right location, the right background. So, how was all of this chosen? Was it a difficult process? Tell us a bit about it.
We held a screening session, casting section with MFDC. We immediately saw from the people that attended that we found our Nikola Tesla, a young Joshua Rose who was 16 years old. His image is, we would call him the African version of Nikola Tesla. And these roles were very easy to cast. The characters appeared, we knew what we were looking for. And then we went on to a quest of different locations. We filmed in a privacy ghat. We filmed in the State House. I think the State House was the most complicated one to film in because of the logistics, because we used the drone and different things like this. We filmed in many locations in Mauritius to recreate not only scenes from Budapest, where Nikola Tesla and was based at the time, but also to enact the local scenery that was necessary. A privacy ghat was a key place in Mauritius history for indentured labor to arrive. So Gandhi would have arrived in this area. Other people would have arrived. The Acha family arrived here. So it was important to show that. And today we see that it's a World Heritage Center, and we can see that there's work in progress going on to show the location as it was in history. So it was a very challenging process
Indeed.
because we did a lot of filming in short periods of time. So the communication, getting permits was an administrative process. So this is something that we had to put up with. But in the end, we managed to complete everything as we needed to. There were some elements of the project that were filmed in Serbia. There's a segment with Tomislav Tesla, and a scene with me there, but me being in Mauritius at the time, we had to recreate the scene with a third party to look like me. So this aspect went on very well. So it was very easy to recreate scenes from Serbia. We also recreated a scene in Russia. So we engaged actors from around the world and managed, during COVID, we managed to produce a film using remote instruction.
Mhm.
So this was also a challenge, but we overcame this challenge very easily.
So how long did it take to complete the whole movie, the post-production, and was there a lot of research involved during the filmmaking process?
The film we started making, I think, in June. It was on the screen by November. The filming was completed within 2 months, and it was then just the post-production. The style of Sada and Desiri, the way they work, is a very unique style. So there was very little post-production. The bit for me that was complicated was the voiceover, finding the right studio, and telling the story without emotion. And this is the very challenging for me because I'm quite emotional. But telling the story in a tone where I was not engaged in the story, even though it was my story. So these were. It took a few takes for the voice, but in the end, we got there. And music was important. We wanted to drive the film because voice is sometimes mundane and boring. So we used music to drive the film. We chose music from around the world, and we used a track from some world-renowned producers that have done work for Maxima and Disney and things like this. So it's a collaboration of people that wanted to tell the story,
Yeah.
and now the story is being told still 3.5 years later since it's been released. It's now going to appear on NBC, so I'm grateful for that. The film has won multiple international awards, and that makes me proud as a man. It makes me proud to have invested in the community and brought these people's faces to the screen, and seen their careers grow. And this is one thing I do know from this project, is that actors and actresses, the crew, they have all grown.
Yeah.
And this is one of the biggest gratifications for me, is seeing how these people have grown. And this is the most important thing with passion. When you see passion, you invest in passion, and then the passion takes over.
Indeed, that's a very wise word, I would say. But now, talk to us about the title of the movie, Three Wise Men, Parallel Lives. I think that it reflects somehow the way the movie is made, like it blurs kind the line between reality and fiction. So how did you come up with that title, which is very, interesting?
Three wise men, parallel lives. Parallel lives we relate to in spirituality, in the holistic world, that we are living in multiple dimensions at the same time. Past is present, present is future, etc., etc. So I'm aware of these things. Three wise men I was referring to, Acha, Tesla, and myself. We must be wise to do what we're doing. We must be wise to understand that our lives are challenged with projects that we need to complete. It's almost like a mission. And however we adapt to those circumstances, under whatever external forces that may be for or against it, we have to be wise, because we're navigating all the time. And we refer to history, we refer to the historical stories, and this is one of the most beautiful benefits that I have, is I can look backwards and see the record. I can see what happened, and I know that what I'm doing is very, very similar. So the name Three Wise Men, it also relates to Christianity, the Jesus Christ thing. It's about three wise men
Indeed.
telling the story about something that may or may not be in our consciousness happening. And I do believe that there are many similarities, particularly after 3 years, 4 years post the making and the release of the film. We see these topics that we touched in the documentary actually happening. So we know the title is very appropriate. We know that it's very real. It's for the viewer to understand that these things do happen. And it's happening here in Mauritius.
The movie in a way, taps a lot about the notions of destiny,
Hmm.
unity. So to write about these may be somehow easy, but to translate it on the screen, for the moving images, can be a little more complex.
Hmm.
Could you explain to us how did you make the transition from the written text to now ha- allowing people to see your idea?
The biggest challenge is always to overcome fear. What will people think,
Mhm.
and how will people respond to what you have to say? The challenges will always be there.
Yeah.
But working with Sada and Desiree, because they are the directors, Sada and Desiree guided me in the role that I was living my role, but in the recreation of the scenes of the Tesla scenes and the Atcha scenes, we were recreating history, that things that actually happened. It's always going to be challenging, because it's overcoming fear, and fear is the biggest thing that we all have to overcome, and we have different levels of fear. And once we overcome those, we become in balance with what's going on, and we are engrossed in the project. This is the most single important thing that's happening. And when we find ourselves distracted with outside matters, this is when things start to go awkward. So for us, it was about focus on what we want to tell, what message do we want to say. And the one thing about the film, we wrote the script. The voiceover was written at the end because we had all of the images. The story, although the story was written, the voice was redone several times because we had the images to play to, as well as the supporting music. So all of these elements, the pictures, the music, and the words, are crucial to telling that complete story. And I think with filmmakers in the world today, many are focused on specific areas and rely on outside elements for contribution. But what I will say is music is the single most important element of a film, because this is what keeps the audience engaged. This is what Hollywood and Bollywood do. And this is what independent filmmakers need to understand, that this is what will keep the viewer engaged in your topic.
But do you remember the first time you saw the movie? What was your emotion? Were you satisfied the very first time?
The first time I saw it, I cried
Yeah.
because it's about me. Um, I will never be 100% satisfied because there are minor things that I notice that would not be noticeable from the normal eye. Um, it does lead me to make another documentary. We will make another documentary, this is for sure, because the story continues. And the whole point of making this was to take my journey to a certain point. There's a story that's happening in Mauritius that's real and live, that's been happening since 2020. And gathering that material and resource to be able to make a much better, higher quality documentary, which we plan to make in 2025.
The movie, like you said, was a very soft one, positive one. So, what's the key message you wanted the audience to take away from the film?
There's more to life than what you know. I know nothing, and this is what I've learned. I actually know nothing on the scale of what the world represents. It's keeping an open mind and heart, and not being afraid to change. There are too many rigidities in society today, and if we look at history, we see history was much more open and much more friendly. So I think there's a message of look within yourself to understand that you are somebody that can create anything. You are in control of your own destiny, and we are in control of our own future and path. I do believe this. Every single person in the world is able to do this. If I can do it, anybody can do it. It's about applying thought processes and not beckoning to external influences. Although we have this in society, I know one of the books that I wrote, Outside the Box, talks about how we are educated, how we are in society, said that this is the way it should be. I haven't followed that path, and here I am today. And it's about taking a risk,
Indeed. Yeah.
not being afraid, not being afraid of rejection, and not being afraid to question what is real, because what we uncovered in Mauritius, everyone should know. Everyone should know that Gandhi was here, what Gandhi represented. Everyone should know what the Major did, because it wasn't just electricity, it was salt plants, cinema, ice. He did so much, and nobody knows about it.
Yeah.
And I hope that when people watch the film, they ask the question why I didn't learn this at school. Because I never learned about Nikola Tesla at school. So there are things in my society in the UK where I was educated that I didn't learn. I learned about Tesla in 2014 when I was 40 something. And now I'm working with a descendant of Nikola Tesla, which is very, very powerful. But all of these things, cinema, the work that I'm doing today, the things that I've done in the last 4 years has elevated me as a person,
Yeah.
but it hasn't elevated my ego. And this is the balance of
It changed
man.
the course of your life a bit.
Absolutely. Yes. And this is why I believe in destiny. I came to Mauritius for a reason. Somebody asked me to come. I didn't believe there was an opportunity here. There is, and I've taken it. And whilst the challenges are the challenges, we've had some major, major issues, but we've had to overcome them. And if I believe in what I'm doing, I will overcome them.
Mm, yeah. And now, Deane Thomas, in some weeks you are organizing the film festival,
Mhm.
right? It's in December.
Yes.
Talk to us about the concept, the main objectives, how's it going to be?
Again, it's an expansion of the film. It's an expansion of the work that we've done. It's a byproduct. I like to call it. It's a byproduct of the work that we've done. Having entered so many festivals, I understand that we can make a festival. There's filmmakers in Mauritius that have no festival to show their films. Mauritius is a great destination for cinematography, for filmmakers, for producers, directors to come
Yeah.
to make film. And there's a way that Mauritian filmmakers can have access to the international market to elevate their level of filmmaking. So the whole purpose was to show, again, it's a showing people by leading by example. If I can do it, somebody else can do it. And it's showing how it can be done. This festival is in its third year. The first year was held at Cine Port Louis, and we had a very successful festival. We started with only 45 films. 2022 was, we had 50 something films, but we had to go to an online event because of there was a storm in Mauritius the day that we were due to do the broadcast. And this year we have 96 entries from 42 or 43 different countries from around the world. A broad spectrum of topics and themes. And it's beautiful to see all these fresh topics and scenes from around the world and seeing how other people are living and communicating their stories. The event is on the 14th and 15th of December at Cine Trianon. There will be an evening on the 14th, which is an exhibition or screening of short and long selected projects from the festival. And then on the 15th, we have the award ceremony where we present awards to the winners. And then following the festival, the event's award ceremony, there will be a screening of some of the best of the festival. So I think we're screening somewhere in the region of 25 to 30 films of different lengths. And we will show a myriad of stories that are all interesting, they're all quality. And I hope that the room is full of Mauritian filmmakers so that they can get inspiration. The public are welcome to come to the event. It's a free event. Yes, we will have our award ceremony with VIP guests, but the public are able to come. They don't need to pay. If they want to come and see some foreign cinema from around the world, they're more than welcome.
I think that such events will really help to inspire people here in Mauritius, to elevate the film industry in our country. Do
Mm.
you feel so?
Absolutely. You have two different paths. You have the private sector and you have the public sector. We have a vision of what is possible. We have a vision of what is achievable because we've achieved it. It's now convincing filmmakers here that this is a path that they can follow. And maybe working with MFDC and Ministry of Arts and saying that, there's a way to navigate this process internationally. What support is available to filmmakers in Mauritius? I know they have an extensive government schemes, but maybe the mindset needs to look differently at what is the market for cinematography. Mauritius, yes, is a great destination, and yes, it's a great destination for filmmaking. But what are we doing for Mauritian filmmakers to tell their stories outside of Mauritius? And this is where we elevate filmmakers. And I believe, with our new business vision for the business that I'm involved with, part of that is the incorporation of a fully equipped studio which will be open to filmmakers and to voice artists that want to come and work, that want to come and use the equipment and have access to the equipment. And so more like a community studio where I want to harness the youth. Everyone on the youth is posting TikTok videos and Facebook videos and all these things. They're videographers. They can make film. They just need to have the reason to and the right mentors to channel that energy. And I think this is where we from next year, we are able to invest directly in the community and start to understand what does the community need and how can we contribute that. And I think the other message from the festival is, as a businessman, I've invested in people. If we invest in people, we have great projects and we have
Yeah.
great end results. It doesn't cost a lot of money to make a film. It costs a lot of energy. It's that energy that is the source of everything. And it's put the money aside. Focus on what you're good at. The money will come. And this is a great philosophy of life. It works. I think we call it manifestation, power of manifestation. But if you're focused on your passion, all of the resources will manifest and they will realize. And this is an example of that. This is, how do I tell my story? And NBC is telling my story. And I appreciate that, because I think it's a story that is of interest.
Indeed. We are actually drawing towards the end of this episode, but before that, Dean, talk to us about your future projects now. Are you planning to make a next movie soon?
We've already created a title, Three Wise Men Journey to Africa, because the next progressive stage for me as a businessman is Africa, is delivering the technology into Africa. It's a result of the work that we've done here in Renewable Energy Project. We're very nearly completing the first Tesla cascading hydropower plant, which is a new innovation in the world. Once that is launched, then we go to the market in Africa and India. So that's the commercial side. From the cinematographic side is making another documentary. We want to tell the story because now people will want to know what happened in the last 3.5 years, because there's a lot. There's another story to be told there. There's another 90-minute documentary there. So this is a story that I want people to understand. Is it shows the determination and the perseverance of me as a character and the team that have supported me going forward. How we have created this unity, as we touched on earlier. Brotherhood, sisterhood, whatever we want to call it. We have a common vision, we have a common purpose, and that is to deliver our technology and our vision to the world and the community. And the community plays an important role in that. Nobody knows what we're doing, but everyone should know what we're doing, because this is for the better of Mauritius. We're not doing this for commercial sake. We're doing this to bring energy to Mauritius. And this is the same modus operandi that the Major had with his brothers. Everything is for service. We will make money, we will make profit, but it's how can we improve and ensure the future lives of this island with energy, with green energy. And an interesting fact on this is, if we go back to 1950, 60% of energy in Mauritius was from hydropower. Today is 3%, if not less. So there's been a shift in the way that we rely on energy in Mauritius, which I understand completely, and as a way that we can shift back to a more harmonious relationship with nature. And this is all encompassing in the documentary, in the work that we're doing, is having a harmonious relationship with nature and utilizing nature in the best way possible to enhance our lives. And this is what we've done with technology. This is what we've done with cinematography. We've shown what we can do, and we've demonstrated our abilities, and we will continue to do that for the foreseeable future.
Dean, it's been a delight to have you on the set tonight and learn more about, your inspiring journey. Thank you for the wise words, and we wish you all the best for the future projects.
Thank you very much.
Dear viewers, we have now come to the end of this episode. Thank you for your time. We hope to catch you next week at the same time, same channel. Have a great evening.